Whether it's learning about earnings estimates, exploring the Zacks Rank, or adding to your financial toolkit, get the education and resources to help you become a more successful investor here on Investing the Zacks Way. In this segment, Steve is talking about the Zacks Rank again, but this time from a little bit of a different perspective. Now, not too long ago, you did a commentary about how the Zacks Rank stock picking system was wrong 44% of the time. Yeah. And to my surprise, the boss kind of like glazed over that. He kind of overlooked that. Now you want to talk about 5 limitations that the Zacks Rank system carries with it. Are you trying to commit career suicide here? What's going on, man?
No, it might seem like that. But no, this is just another case of where I'm trying to give a fair perspective of what the Zacks Rank is about. A person has to know how it works and sometimes how it doesn't work to apply it successfully. So here again, we keep talking about the 30% annualized return. The better folks understand how to employ the system, with its shining moments and some of its warts too, the better they are going to be able to achieve that exceptional return.
Well, I commend you for your gutsiness, let me tell you. So share with us then the 5 limitations of the Zacks Rank.
Yeah, we're going to start off with number 1, which is the performance is relative to the market. And this is one of the things I've talked to Len Zacks beforehand. So we say, a number 1 is a strong buy, and number 2 is a buy, and on down the list. However, he said he really debated early on whether he should use that kind of rating system, buy, sell, hold, or whether he should go with outperform, in line with market, and underperform, because the system is really about how it does relative to the market. That's another way of saying when the market's going down, it's going to pull pretty much everything with it, including some of the best stocks, the best earnings outlooks. And so what I'm going to show here is a graph that I put together. We keep talking about since 1988, the performance of the Zacks Rank is, the strong buy stocks is plus 30%. However, in that stretch, there's been 5 years that have been in the red. So I'm highlighting each one of these years and showing how the Zacks Rank is done in each of those years. In 1990, as you can see, we were pulled down into the red as well. But at the end of the year, we did have a positive return. As you go down the list, the market's been down 5 times over the last 20 years. We've only been down 3 of those times, but here again, in each occurrence, you go to the right-hand margin, you'll see that we have had an advantage over the market each time. So in the most recent year, market's down 12%, and we're down 6%. Is that our shining moment? Is that something that we can, wave a big banner outside the building? And the answer is no. But here again, would you rather be down 6% or down 12%? Or the one thing that's not on the slide is the Zacks number 5 rank stocks, the strong sells. Those are down 20% so far this year. So here again, a system that says, all right, the market condition's not great, but this is the best the market has to offer, -6. The average stock's down 12. And oh, by the way, these terrible stocks, the one to stay away from, don't have them in your portfolio, those are down 20. So even in the worst conditions, the Zacks Rank is being helpful to individuals.
Well, that does make sense. And all too often, even the good stocks get punished when the market, takes a tumble. But that also does create buying opportunities for investors. Sure so the next limitation then would be what?
It is a short-term indicator. And so on the website and the education, we keep trying to say it's really meant for a 1 to 3 month time horizon. And that's because that's the way Len tested out. He put together these factors of agreement, magnitude, upside, surprise that were indicative of future stock performance, but future stock performance really only looking out 1 to 3 months. So phenomenal tool for traders. But if you're a long-term investor, you're going to find there's far too much turnover in the signals of the stocks. In fact, every month, 60% of the stocks will change their rating. So, 60% of the number 1 stocks will leave the list, and a new group of stocks will come on. So, if you're a long-term investor, we're not trying to change who you are. You're just better off looking at the Zacks recommendation versus the Zacks Rank.
And for those who want to know more about the Zacks recommendation application for long-term investing, then be sure to check out our education video. We did do an education video on that Zacks recommendation versus the Zacks Rank. I just wanted to call that to your attention. So let's move on then to the number 3 limitation.
Yeah, the number 3 is that there's a little bit of a small to mid cap bias in the Zacks Rank. So here again, thinking about the 4 factors, agreement, magnitude, upside, and surprise. The stocks that are going to have the biggest measures in those 4 factors are going to be smaller to mid-cap companies because they're going to have the most explosive earnings. It's just too hard for the Johnson & Johnsons and GEs to really have a 40% earnings surprise and see their earnings estimates go up that much. So here again, we're not trying to change the kind of investor you are. We're just trying to make you smarter in the way you do go to market. So here again, if you see yourself as a more conservative investor and you really want to shy away from some of the small and mid-cap stocks, then fine. You're not going to find as many #1 ranked stocks that are large caps, but if you expand your horizon to include Zacks #2 ranked stocks, which are still in the top 20% of our indications, which still have a return which is twice the market, which is I believe 19%. Going back all these years, then that's still a pretty good ground. So if you're going to be a more conservative investor and want large cap stocks, expand to a Zacks rank of 2. In your search, you're going to find plenty that meet what you're looking for.
All right, halfway there.
Okay.
Number 4.
Number 4 is that there's a little bit of an industry bias or an overweighting of certain industries at any one time. What I'm saying is that the factors that move the earnings for a company are quite often things that are happening inside their industry. The best example would be looking over the last 3 years if the price of oil has gone up dramatically, that all the oil producers have had phenomenal earnings estimate revisions and earnings increases. And quite a few have been in the Zacks #1 ranked territory for a long, long time. So here again, one of the lessons that we all have to learn is let's keep our portfolio diversified. So overweighting in the energy field was not a bad idea, but do you want 50, 60, 70% of your money in that, right? And that's a lesson that we learned like with a technology bust. It's great while it's going up, but we always have to remember that someday that party will end. And if you take a look at those stocks, they have been down a fair amount of late. So you want to keep good diversification rules in place, even if there's so many attractive ones in that industry. There's Zacks #1 ranked.
I remember a few months back you talked about how most investors, or many investors, don't diversify well enough, and that a lot of investors only know 1 to 2 stocks, and they have a tendency to get married to them. It makes it clear the importance of diversification as to not have too many eggs, if not all of them, in the same basket.
Absolutely.
So with that having been said, limitation number 5.
Yeah, limitation number 5 is that the system is blind to everything but the 4 factors: agreement, magnitude, upside, and surprise. And here again, we have a whole series of videos to explain each one of those individually, but there are 4 measures of earnings estimates and earnings surprises that Zacks prove to be indicative of future stock price performance. And so for the guy who says, well, I'm a value investor, where's PE or PEG or book value? They're not part of this equation. Or the person who says, I'm more of a momentum player or a chartist, where are those indicators in here? And the answer is they're not. The Zacks rank is only focused on these 4 factors that Len found to be successful. And if you want to be a value investor, you can do that with the Zacks rank. So you take the 220 stocks that are Zacks #1 ranked and screen within that group to find those that have the value attributes you're looking for. And I can say the same for if you're a growth investor, if you're a chartist or a momentum player. The Zacks rank is the best starting point for your stock search, and then narrow it down to find those that meet your unique investing style.
So information can be parsed out a lot of different ways.
Absolutely, and probably the Research Wizard is probably the best tool for that. And also we have some trading services, meaning where we pick stocks for folks based upon value size. We have a value trader service, a growth trader service, and so on, so that people who want to employ the Zacks rank and a style at the same time can do so.
All right, so despite these limitations, remind us again, if you would, why people should be using the Zacks rank to pick better stocks.
So here again, even with all these flaws, okay, and here again, anyone who tries to tell you that they have a system that's absolutely perfect and it's foolproof and things of that nature, they're just not telling the truth. And so I like sharing this information because it makes it honest, it makes it applicable for the person because they know what to avoid when they're using the Zacks rank. But the reason why we use the Zacks rank, and here we're coming back to our favorite topic, which is about performance. And the Zacks Rank model, the thing you want in a stock picking model is two things. You want something that provides clear signals, okay, clear signals, which are the ones to buy, which ones to hold, which ones to sell, okay? So our stock rating system gives clear understanding of what that is. But what's even more important than clear signals are meaningful signals, meaning does a strong buy produce better returns than a buy? And the answer is yes. Does a buy produce a better return than a hold? Yes. Does a hold produce a better return than a sell? And does a sell outperform a strong sell? And the answer is yes. Meaning that each of the signals is indicative of the likely performance of those stocks. And it is the most helpful of knowing which stocks to buy, which to hold, and which to sell. And that's what you want in a rating system.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. The 5 limitations of the Zacks Rank and why it's still a good system to use.
Yeah.
With Steve, I'm Terry Ruffalo.